Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Trent. This is Rams Talk. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for all that good stuff. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. You can also find me on Twitter at RealLARamsTalk. So let's get into the preview for the Rams-Vikings game on Thursday Night Football. So first, let's get to some news and notes regarding injuries for both teams. I'm sure everyone is aware now that Aqib Talib is out for at least a couple of months. Big blow to the secondary, but at least we have Sam Shields. Marcus Peters is day-to-day and a game-time decision. Personally, I like to have them hold him out, have him get an extra 10 days of rest before the Broncos game. But, I mean, who knows how he's feeling. If he feels good and he's ready to go, rock and roll on that. JoJo Natson is out with a broken hand, so punt and kickoff duties will go to Cooper Kupp and Blake Countess. Blake Countess also, kudos to you. You won the NFC Special Teams Player of the Week after jumping on the blocked punt against the Chargers and also doing some punt and kickoff return against the Chargers. So those are our news and notes from the Rams. And from the Vikings end, Dalvin Cook and Riley Reiff are both questionable and game time decisions. Dalvin Cook is their star running back, and Reiff is their left tackle. And then also who is out, that's Everson Griffin, their number one pass rusher. He had to leave the team for psychological reasons, so we hope he gets better. So all of that being said, my take on this game is, first of all, a lot of people think that after the Buffalo Vikings game that the Vikings are garbage and are not really good. But what I think the Bills really did is that they exposed the Vikings at their weakest. And where they're at their weakest is their offensive line. And the Rams have been very lucky so far in the young season to play teams with crappy offensive line. The Cardinals have the worst. The Vikings are the 27th rated offensive line. The Chargers are, I think, 29th in terms of offensive line. So the Rams defensive front is really teeing off on really subpar offensive lines. And what you saw in the Buffalo Vikings game is that they left a lot of one-on-one matchups for the Bills, and the Bills just overpowered the Vikings offensive line. The Vikings offensive line allowed 38 pressures on 60 dropbacks. That's insane. To put that in perspective, the Rams last week allowed only 3 pressures on 38 dropbacks, something like that. So Rams offensive line number 1, Vikings offensive line number 27. It's just not even close. And if their starting left tackle Riley Reiff can't play, then that really decimates their offensive line even more. So if I'm Mike Zimmer, if I'm the coach of the Vikings, and I'm trying to put a game plan together, I'm looking to establish the run, because last week against the Bills, granted they were playing from behind most of the time, they rushed the ball 6 times, only 6 times for 14 yards. Yes, Dalvin Cook wasn't in there, but Latavius Murray was in there. And last year, Latavius Murray torched the Rams he had 2 touchdowns, and he was breaking off like 10, 15, 20-yard runs like all the time. So if I'm Mike Zimmer, I'm going to try and take pressure off of the pass blocking of the offensive line. I'm going to just really try and establish that run and pound the run, because the Rams linebackers, while they've been doing a very serviceable job, they're not like top 10 linebackers in football, especially stopping the run. So I'm going to try and establish the run if I'm the Vikings, just keep trying to stay consistent, maybe put some extra personnel in there, some tight ends, and really try and move the ball that way, and then which obviously sets up for play action and for just throwing the ball deep. The Vikings offense, in terms of passing last week, what kind of happened is Adam Thielen got his. He had over 100 yards receiving, but none of the receivers had over 19 yards, which meant that the Bills were just getting in, and Cousins had to throw shorter passes. There weren't any Phillip Rivers throwing it deep downfield. So also what the Bills did is they blitzed the cornerback who was covering Thielen and had the safety cover Thielen. And so that extra pressure meant that Cousins had to dump the ball off to shorter routes. So I feel like for the Vikings offense, just like every game with the Rams, it really comes down to who's winning the battle in the trenches. And so far this season, the Rams defensive line has been really, really putting on a lot of pressure. They don't have the sacks, but they're putting on lots of pressure on the offensive line of other teams, making them play small ball. and I think that's really the key. So our cornerbacks, yes, they've been doing a great job, but they haven't been tested as much. And Sam Shields and Troy Hill, I'm sure will be tested, obviously, but if that front for the defensive front for the Rams can step up, then I don't think they're going to have to. Now, I also feel that the Rams on defense, it's kind of all hands on deck, so they called up Dominique Hatfield. They're going to have Countess back there. Joyner might be playing a little more, like switching off with some corner, which he played early in his career. Nickel Roby-Coleman might be moved from the nickel to the outside. I think Wade Phillips is going to be shifting a lot of guys around. Troy Hill, kind of been a roller coaster with him throughout his career, but I think he last year acquitted himself, even though the preseason not so much, but we'll see which Troy Hill shows up and Sam Shields and see if he can really make it through a full game. On the offensive side of the ball for the Rams, like I said, their offensive line is rated number 1 by Pro Football Focus, and it's number 1 against the pass, and it's number 1 against the rush. So, I mean, by far they are the best unit in football, and because of that, they're able to give Todd Gurley the open lanes, and they're able to give Jared Goff enough time. He's never touched. And when you add that to the skill players that the Rams have, especially at the receiving positions, they are going to, I think, really open the field. Now, last year, the Rams had Sammy Watkins and Kupp and Woods. And if you look at the highlights of the Vikings game last year, it was really just Kupp and Woods doing it. So now that they have to account for Brandon Cooks. And the Vikings secondary and their linebackers are legit. They also have Sheldon Richardson on the defensive line. So their defense is great, but is really good. But without Everson Griffin, I really think that they lose a step, and the Rams can capitalize on that. I wouldn't even be surprised to see the Rams hopefully add a 4th receiver, maybe Josh Reynolds into the mix, or Gerald Everett or Tyler Higbee, and really kind of get that option going. One last thing to talk about in terms of the defense for the running game for the Vikings is it's the 31st rated running game in the NFL, and they average 66 yards a game, and that's just terrible. So I think that Mike Zimmer is a physical coach, and I think he's really going to try and pound the ball. I meant to say that earlier, but I forgot. But I really, at the end of the day, I think that the Vikings defense doesn't have an answer for the Rams offensive line and skill players, and Jared Goff is the most underrated quarterback in football. He's ranked 4th by Pro Football Focus. And, you know, Cousins is good. He's totally serviceable quarterback, but Goff is they have a better offensive system, better play callers, better personnel. Everyone wants to focus on Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters being out, but no one's really focusing on like what the Vikings have to do to stop the Rams. So I look forward for the Vikings to establish a run. I see the Rams shutting that down, especially if Dalvin Cook isn't healthy, and I think that the Rams really get to Cousins, and they're going to have to throw a lot of short passes. So hopefully they can lock down Diggs and Thielen. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know what you think and how this is going to play out. Short turnaround for tomorrow. So anyways, if you haven't subscribed, like I said, please do so. And if you want to watch any of my other videos, please do so up here. And I'll be doing a recap after tomorrow night's game, so I'll get another piece of content up as soon as possible. But anyways, thanks for watching once again, and go Rams.